Last week, Facebook ads media buyers were freaking out on Sunday morning when they took a look at all of their ad accounts. I myself logged in right around 9 a.m. Sunday morning. It was a pretty gloomy day actually, and it was raining quite a lot out here in Montreal, but nonetheless, it was not looking good across Meta ad accounts. If you didn't know already, Meta had a big bug happening on the nights between Saturday to Sunday, 22nd to 23rd of April, which basically led to a lot of accounts overspending in the early hours of the day, some even spending their entire budget in just a few hours, leading to very poor performances across most ad accounts. It's not the first time that a situation like this happened on Facebook. In fact, a situation similar to that happened around 2 years ago in the month of October, which also led to questioning, is it good to have all of your eggs within the same basket? Now, with that being said, there are a lot of learnings that you can take away from that, and some of them that we've actually also already started implementing at the agency. But I want to share today with you a list of ideas and action steps you should be taking after the Facebook ads drama that happened last week. If you don't know who I am, my name is Justin and I'm the founder at Wizo Media, an e-commerce marketing agency specializing in elevating thriving brands by simplifying e-commerce growth. I think the first and most important thing is to have some form of weekend sentinel. A lot of brand owners actually were found kind of helpless during that time period because brand owners themselves may or may not be checking their ad accounts on a regular basis, but especially not during the weekends. And a lot of agencies don't work during the weekends, including ours, right? A lot of our team is not on during the weekend time, which if stuff like that happens on a Saturday or Sunday, it might be hard or might even be too late before somebody spots the mistake and corrects it. I luckily happened to be checking the accounts on Sunday morning and initially posted a tweet Sunday morning around 9 or so a.m. and said like, anybody else is seeing some weird spending on Facebook? Because I actually had seen 4 of our ad accounts spending a lot more than they should at this time of the day. And that was just more of an odd coincidence at this point. I hadn't heard anything about this bug happening on Facebook, and I think a lot of people, again, Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, that is most of the West Coast, is still asleep. Nobody really yet knows that this is a bug and is happening. Now, fast forward to an hour later, I start seeing a bunch of these tweets coming up from people in the space saying like, big bug at Facebook, pause all of your ads, and then all of a sudden it becomes this huge frenzy where everybody's freaking out on these Facebook groups, on these Discord groups. I see Slack notifications starting to pop off in some of the other communities that I'm in, and it's like everybody is commonly freaking out at the same time because they're all realizing that Meta has overspent on their ad accounts. Now, my second learning, apart from having a weekend sentinel, is about how should you react in such a situation? Because the common advice that I saw on Twitter was pause your ad campaigns, turn off everything, and wait until Meta says that they figured out a solution. In my very own experience, I know that Meta really doesn't care that much about what's going to happen, unfortunately, with its users. It's something that we've seen in the past that in these cases, they don't really refund you, they don't really do much, and you're kind of left on your own. So I didn't want to take the risk of pausing all ad campaigns because doing that would reset the learning phase across most of them. And knowing how hard we've worked to get our accounts to a very good stage, I was like, let me do something different. So what I did is I introduced an ad account spending limit on every single one of our accounts that was lower than a usual daily's budget in order to let it cap out at that spend. So I didn't want accounts to overspend too much. And my mindset was that worst case scenario, if ever the account starts spending, if we aggregate the data for a week's time and kind of blend in that spend for that week, it wouldn't really affect the results that much. And I'm honestly happy that I did, because on the flip side, a lot of our accounts at the agency actually overperformed during that day. So I'm gonna throw a screenshot on screen right now of one of our accounts who actually did much better than a regular day on that day. And my reasoning for that is the following. If you look at the screenshot, you can see that if we reported back on Facebook itself, the ROAS would have been 0.3, which is abnormally low for that ad account. Like usually we don't see a ROAS that low. Whereas if you look at Triple, it's above 4. That account usually on a regular day is roughly 2 to 3x ROAS on Triple. And if you look usually on Facebook, it's roughly 1.6 to like 2.2-ish. Like that's kind of the range that we would see on Facebook itself. Now, with that said, that day itself created a huge discrepancy in the results. Again, 0.3 on Facebook and 4 point something on Triple. And I've also seen that on another one of our Triple accounts that did much better than usual during that day. It seemed that so many people freaked out and turned off their ads that at some point it was like there's less competition advertising, there's less people advertising at the same time. Users are still on Facebook, right? It's not a bug that affected the users by any means. And that's what I was thinking when this happened. I'm like, I can still access Instagram, I can still access Facebook, I can still browse like usual. I was still seeing ads on my feed on my own. So I'm like, from a user standpoint, there's literally no issues. The issue is at the ads manager level, and that was it. Again, other screenshot on screen, there was on the meta status page. You can see that this issue is only affecting the ads manager itself. So my thinking was, if this is affecting only the ads manager, then from a user's perspective, delivery shouldn't be affected. They're still seeing the ads. So chances are it's a reporting issue more than anything else. And I'm not gonna make the unanimous conclusion that this is the case across all accounts, because we've also had 2 accounts at the agency that, regardless of if we compare TripleWell or the actual ad account, they did very poorly during that day. And I'm also gonna throw the disclaimer that on the subsequent days, so all of the week following this incident, results were quite shaky across most accounts on Facebook. But that specific day, I can't ignore the fact that some of our accounts did much better than usual. And I'm simply gonna attribute that to the fact that, again, so many people turned off their ads that we just won more bids, therefore being on more people's feed placement. And if you had a third-party attribution software, that one was not affected by the ads manager itself. So the third-party attribution software that we use is TripleWell was not necessarily affected by what was happening on the ads manager or the deliverability problems. It was reporting anomalies. So on TripleWell, they have Lighthouse, which basically spots anomalies within the account, or if any item is out of stock, as an example. We had an anomaly for the account that actually performed better during that day. We had a 281% budget increase as for a usual day like this at the same time. So that notification popped up on that TripleWell account saying like, yo, your budget is 281% higher than it usually is, same day, same time. Nonetheless, ended the day at pretty profitable results. Now, another thing that I recommend you do following this incident is have stop loss on your accounts. So I heard of a lot of people that had a stop loss and it even didn't work with the bug, which that's actually pretty crazy. I personally did not see that problem across any of our accounts. All of our accounts, if there was an ad spend limit or a stop loss on there, Facebook respected that, so it didn't overspend on the budget itself. But I heard people where that happened. So again, if this is you, then it is an unfortunate situation. And I can only speak from a personal experience here. I had not seen that happening. So unfortunately, it's not something that we had set up on all accounts. Again, I was super lucky to be quick at spotting it and adding an ad account spending limit on our accounts. But it would be good to have a stop loss rule on your ad campaign. So you could have a rule where if the spend is X amount and purchases or ROAS is Y amount, then kill the campaign. So that could be a stop loss for you, that if you see that the campaign is overspending and there's no purchases coming through, then it just kills the campaign. A little bit like a day trader, right? If you, or anybody who's trading for that matter, having a stop loss helps you minimize your downside, especially during weekends or times where you may not be as aware as you usually are. Another thing that we did at the agency is that we added an RSS feed bot to Slack. So Meta actually has, if you go to metastatus.com, you can click on any of the categories and there's an RSS feed button that appears. And Slack, actually, if you go through the Slack app directory, you can download the RSS bot, which essentially you just have to paste to it an RSS feed link and it'll send you notifications on Slack when that happens. That's something we did not have now that we added on Slack, actually, so that any issues happening with the ads manager on Meta, we're automatically going to get notified as soon as the Meta team spots it and puts a status update live on their Meta status bot. We'll get a notification on Slack telling us that something's wrong with Meta or that things came back. So that I introduced that just a few hours after finding out about that problem, which led us to know as soon as the problem was eradicated and that the status changed to no known issues, then we were able to notify clients and remove the ad spend limits that we had put on the accounts. And for all my marketers and agency owners out there, I think over communication is key. During that time period, I sent more than 5 updates to every single client, which again, on a Sunday morning, we don't usually send updates to clients on weekends. Clients know that we don't work on weekends and we're not gonna respond to Slack on weekends. We're not gonna launch new campaigns on weekends. We are just going to, anything that needs to be launched during the weekends is basically scheduled as of Friday, right? So with that being said, we still went over the top and sent these updates the clients, and I made a thread with every single client we had, posting updates as they came through. So I was active on Twitter. I had the meta status page opened up. I was also doing my own analysis, looking into our ad accounts and just keeping clients updated throughout the day. So during these times, I think the situation would have been much different if every single client woke up on Monday morning, looked at ad accounts and was like, wait a minute, we didn't get any ad sales yesterday. Why is that? What's happening? It would have been a bit of a fiasco, right? We would have gotten a lot of messages and questions, but because we took the time, we took the hour or so that it took all throughout a Sunday to send these quick updates to clients, they were able to wake up Monday morning knowing that yes, there was a problem. Yes, we were on it. Here are the action steps that we took to mitigate that problem, and here's the overall solution for it all. And shameless plug, if you're part of a marketing community like PCAT community, which we have free community linked in the description down below, you can be aware of these updates and changes. So moving forward, we're committing to posting these updates. If we see any anomalies in there, we can post them in there. You guys can also interact with each other. So definitely make sure to join that community in the description down below, and also get access to our free PCAT mini course on e-commerce paid advertising. But nonetheless, I found a lot of value in all the groups and communities I was in, would it be on Facebook or Twitter, part of these lists or DM groups where people were just sharing tips on what they were doing on their side. So that said, that personally helped me a lot. Maybe it can for you too in the future. So that's about it. That's concretely what we did as an agency during that time period, how we were able to kind of mitigate the downside of most of our clients, communicate that effectively with them, outcomes that we saw from it, and solutions that we took action on to make sure that we further mitigate these negative impacts if this was ever to happen again. On that note, make sure to check out the description down below. There will be a link for you to book in a call with our agency if you're interested in us running all of your paid advertising and producing your ad creatives. With that being said, check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce marketing tips, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.